It's the Untitled Film Project Podcast, and we're talking Fast X. Dom and the rest of the Fast and the Furious crew are back, but this time they become the hunted as a new villain turns the world against them.
The great Dom Toretto. If you never would have gotten behind that wheel, I'd never be the man I am today. And now, I am the man who's going to break your family. Piece by piece.
We'll dig into the 10th version of this franchise and ask the big question.
The big question, you guys, I'm springing it on you in the moment because it was going to be a part of my little deeper dive here.
Okay.
But we didn't have a question ready to go, and this one fits so well, so I figured, you know what, let's turn it into a question. The big question of the week is, who is the best villain you've seen on screen this year?
Okay. Well, it's been a pretty good year for villains.
Hence the question.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to pick one, but we will.
We'll do it.
All right, let's get our first reactions to Fast X. Jeremy, go over.
So before we start, I have to, as we have said on Twitter, we have a very unique perspective of the Fast series in this room. I have seen none all the way through. Jim, you have seen how many, roughly?
Maybe 4 of the 10.
Great. And Bradford, you have seen?
All of them.
All of them. So we're a pretty good cross-section of the audience here. Whether you've seen it or not, you're going to find out if you should go see it. If you've seen half of them, you're thinking, oh, is it any good? You're going to find out. And if you've seen them all, does it live up to the hype? Bradford will tell you. So for me, starting off with having seen none all the way through, I saw a grand total of 38 minutes of the first one the day before we screened this movie.
And how it's changed since then so much.
Oh, I'm getting to that. Yeah. So the first one, for those who don't know, was 2001, so 22 years ago. The first one came out. The first question I have here is, they say you have to suspend belief when you watch a movie, right? How much belief am I being asked to suspend?
All.
Is it just like convenient characters showing up at the convenient time? Or is it like basic physics? Which one is it?
All of it.
Everything you have.
Okay.
All
right. Okay, that's hard for me to do. It was a fun ride, but there's just so much that I couldn't get behind because I don't know how much belief I'm supposed to just check at the door. And I understood going in, like there's a reputation, of course, that the ridiculous and everything. I get all that.
Sure.
But okay, so in the 38 minutes of the first one, in the opening 30, I don't know if it's the opening 38 minutes. I eventually went back and saw I finished it. But anyway, in that first movie, okay, Vin Diesel's character tells this big story to somebody about how his dad died in these races in Arizona. I think it was Arizona. And he was doing 120 and hit a wall, burned alive. But in this one, he gets thrust into a wall by a cement block on a crane and drives away just fine. So
This doesn't involve the big bomb either.
No.
Right.
So I'm not even mentioning that.
Yeah.
And I think his son was in the car at the time. So let's talk about the psychology. It's hard for me to get past the psychology of his dad died going 120 into a wall. He watched it happen, and he has the trauma from that. And now here we are 22 years later, and he's getting slammed by a cement block into a wall, driving away just fine with his son in the car. Doesn't make sense.
By the way, that was a major plot line in F9, by the way, his dad dying. I'll jump ahead here. I'll jump ahead and say that I enjoyed this movie enough to where I'm going to go explore the first 9.
Wow.
So there you go.
All right. Explore, meaning let's just see what kind of crap I can get myself into.
I'm a linear person, as you can probably tell by the fact that I can't suspend disbelief enough to get into this movie.
Sure.
So I'll go 1. I went 1, and I've already watched 2, so that's positive because of this movie. And I will watch 3, and I will see how far I can get before I'm like, this is ridiculous, I'm out.
Now, I would recommend you watch them in an order where Tokyo Drift is not the actual third one that you watch. Just to help.
You may have just saved me because I'm about to start that one.
To help things make sense because the Fast and Furious timeline jumps a lot. So I want to help you with that.
Oh, great. I needed that.
Hey, it's like Marvel from Wish, okay?
why do I have to pay this much attention to this movie series?
It's great. It's ridiculous.
Holy crap.
It's
Right?
ridiculous.
Right? They should not have the license to pull that much synaptic energy out of your brain.
Thank you.
Oh, Jim, they have a license to thrill.
All right. Turn his camera off. He's done.
There's
Mute him.
literally, there's
That's-
almost nothing you can say that hasn't already been used as a catchphrase in all of these movies. So,
Because there's 10 of them.
right.
Or like Free Guy, catchphrase.
I know. Why don't they just number them? You know, it's like, oh, yeah, 62.
Flip through the
What
book.
a callback. Yeah.
My argument to my son, we argued this morning because he was looking through, he wanted to see what the Rotten Tomato scores were of all of them.
Yeah.
And on Apple TV, you can go through each one and click and it'll tell you. Anyway, so it says Fast and Furious. And I'm like, they must have put the wrong movie poster up because that's not, and the wrong title because that's not right. That's the fourth one because it has a little 4 next to it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, but it says it's 4. I know, but they must have used the wrong one because it's The Fast and the Furious. Too Fast, Too Furious. I don't know what the third one. Oh, Tokyo Drift, you said. And then the fourth one is Fast and Furious. How confusing of a delivery for this saga. It just is. It's like Lost and The Blacklist. At some point, the writers got to a season. They're like, we don't have anything else. Let's just make up stuff on the fly so we can keep this cash cow going.
So you watch Tokyo Drift after Fast and Furious 6, by the way.
I'll make a note of that.
I'm sure you will.
Okay,
And
that's my
colored
initial
pencil.
take on Fast X. Jimmy,
That was actually not as bad as I was expecting.
I had a good time. I had a good time in the theater.
Yeah.
It's nothing to write home about. But I had a good time.
Just know I'm not going to argue with anybody on this one. This is all about fun.
Jimmy, you're next because you've seen the second most. So
Right.
you are next.
Right. So yeah, I've just dabbled, in the Fast universe. Yeah, these are big budget movies, but my initial take has to do with the fact that is 80% of the budget spent on a cast that is so large that it's quicker to tell you who's not in this movie than it is to tell you who is. There are so many characters, so many returns of other characters, so many switches of villains. There is so much and so many people to keep track of. Yet I easily found myself following along, and I was not lost for a second.
Take notes, Shazam.
Because it didn't require much. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was ridiculous, like I expected it to be. And I guess I think the thing that just I couldn't believe is every 8 to 10 seconds, a new actor I didn't know was going to be in the movie shows up. So
Barack Obama's in 11, I hear.
He's in 7. You don't know it yet. Oh, I'm sorry.
Spoiler
alert. Oh. So I had a good time, but there was just way too much as far as cast, and it was really ridiculous. So why don't they call it the Fast and Ridiculous?
Oh, that's the name for 12 when they finish up.
Yeah,
the series.
okay. All right. They use that. They owe me
We got
money.
2 more to go.
Yeah, I know. I love the movie posters. The end begins now. It's like, oh, there's going to be 5 more of these things.
Yeah, we're going to hit the 30th anniversary
I'm
of this
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
Justin Bradford, your initial take, Fast X.
So, as someone who has seen all of them, that was my panty project, was to watch all of them because I'd only seen the first
That's
one.
Panty, like pandemic. Not.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My panty project, I bought the series.
You went next level.
You
it
encouraged
was
him.
If it was on sale, yeah, if it's on sale.
It
okay.
was on sale. It was like $30
Yeah,
for 7
I'm all
movies.
for that.
Sure.
I'm off. I can
Okay.
apply
And
that.
during the pandemic, it's like, I need new material to watch,
I get
and we
it.
weren't getting new things on the streaming services, right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
So I watched all of them, and it made it to where I want to just have fun and the expectation of ridiculousness. Because when you go to the first one, it was really just about racing and some minor legal activities, but still a little bit of heart because they're trying to do things to like be legal, but in an illegal way. Does that make any sense at all? Like you're like Robin Hood kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a friendly illegal. Yeah.
So the ridiculousness factor wasn't there yet. Like, yeah, it was a dumb action movie back then, right?
Yeah.
But it still had that thin plot of it's a racing movie. That's what it came down to, was street racing movies.
Street
what it all
racing
was
with
around.
a little bit of heart.
And then all of a sudden it starts graduating into something with deeper plots where they're being hired by the feds, or they're trying to figure out who killed who, or they're trying to figure out a plot to take out the world. It's like, you're hiring street racers to take down terrorists? What is going on here? And then the ridiculous factor keeps creeping up. And I try to liken Fast and Furious to comic books without having the comic book source material.
Yeah.
Because people can die and they can come back. They just have to create a story for why they died.
Right. Or
And-
why they're back and they have amnesia.
Exactly. Or 100%, which just shows me they're leaning into the ridiculousness.
Soap opera.
Soap opera. But here's what I enjoyed about this as well, more than even Fast 9 or F9. Sorry, got to get the names right here.
Yeah, you're right.
What they are doing now is leaning in to the ridiculousness. They are aware that society and pop culture makes fun of the whole family joke. They are aware of all the memes surrounding how stupid some of the things they pull are, and they're leaning into it more, which shows the awareness of it. And they're not trying to take it overly serious. So I appreciate that as a movie watcher, because they're not trying to make you feel like, oh, there's so many stakes, this is super serious. No, they're making fun of themselves a lot, especially in this one, because my favorite part of all this was Jason Momoa, and I know we're going to discuss way more, but as a villain, he was fantastic because he's the one poking fun at everything. He's the villain because he's making fun of the family stuff. He's making fun of all those stupid things that they do in all the previous movies. He's completely taking that, plucking it, and picking it up and just throwing it right in their face. And I love that as a villain.
He's the voice of a lot of the audience.
And then John Cena, who was the villain for the majority of F9, now is the good cop friend of the little kid, and I love the interaction there as well too. So there are ways that made me enjoy this while also suspending belief, but not suspending belief towards like, oh yeah, this could really happen, but just like, I had fun. That's what they're trying to do now, is have fun, because the budget was apparently $340 million, and they're easily going to make that back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because the hype, people just want to see what kind of crazy they get themselves into, because in F9 they turned a freaking car into a rocket ship.
Spoiler.
They're wearing space suits.
They're wearing
in the
space
car.
suits in a car, and then you have candy wrappers flying around.
Yeah.
And lean to the jokes there. So what are they going to do more ridiculous here? Well, they find ways to one-up that as well, too. And that's one reason why I like going, is what are they going to try to do next to make us make fun of things? And that's why I'm okay with it. So I had fun. Is it good cinema? Absolutely not. It is not art in that form of, this is a great cinematic masterpiece. But it is a lot of fun to just shut it off, have a lot of laughs, because the audience that we are even in, people are laughing at it, and you can tell they want that in a lot of parts too, which in previous Fast and Furious movies, they weren't trying to accomplish people laughing as much, unless you're the comic relief like Tyrese Gibson. They weren't wanting you to laugh. Here, there were points where they wanted you to laugh as an audience, and I appreciate that.
Let's go deeper into a very shallow movie.
No diving.
It's a no diving. You will hit your head.
This is a no diving zone. There's no lifeguard on duty.
The gene pool is very shallow. You will hit your head hard.
God. Family.
All right, let's talk. We alluded to him just before this. The new villain for this, time in the movie is Jason Momoa. A super likable guy. I think, he's just in that category of people who has a problem with Jason Momoa. Not very many people. He's cool. And for me, he stole every scene. He was the brightest spot in this movie. I thought he was so much fun and just a great antidote to the, this family's been through a lot, and we can do it, And he comes along with panache, And I really thought he just chewed up every scene and spit it out, and it was by far my favorite part of the movie was his character.
So what I really thought about Jason Momoa, the more I watched him, because they obviously showed that he was battling mental illness. He's psychotic.
Yes.
From dealing with dead bodies and painting their nails and having full-on conversations with them.
Great scene.
Which I mean, was hilarious and fantastic, to just the way his actions are being portrayed with the knowledge he has, reminded me of him channeling his inner Joker.
I thought the same thing.
It reminded me of what a Joker character would be like. And to me, that's fantastic, because they had a villain that wasn't just a cartel person or someone that has infiltrated the police or just a run-of-the-mill terrorist. They had someone who's legitimately psycho as this person, or not someone that was a cyber criminal like Cypher, Charlize Theron's character. They had someone who was just straight up psychotic because of past trauma. And I loved that, because that's how they dug in to make him not a believable villain, but a fun villain, because people loved the Joker. They love how psychotic he is, the ridiculous things he does. I mean, Jason Momoa's character was painting the toenails of a dead person and having a conversation with
having
them.
like a tea party.
A tea party.
Yeah.
And I loved that, because it shows as a villain that he's not just some run-of-the-mill. There's something different about him as a villain. And what I appreciate about him as well, you could tell there were so many times where he was just ad-libbing, and they're seeing what they were going to run with, because he's having fun with it.
I would love to know what was in the script and what was him just having a blast.
The gag reel when you buy this movie are going to be, it's a must watch. Because you know there's going to be 20 takes of him in one of the scenes delivering different lines. You know, it's going to be awesome.
$380 million spent on this movie, none of them on buttons for Dante's shirts.
No.
He doesn't need them.
They saved money that way. I longed to see him in a scene because I knew he would bring something fun or hilarious or sinister or whatever. It was so unpredictable that I knew he'd bring something to the table. So I curiously stood by, and I enjoyed the rest of the film, you know, again, for what it was. But I truly, in those pockets of moments where he wasn't in it, I was waiting for him to come back. He was that good.
Can I tell you the part of the movie I found the least believable?
Please.
And you're never going to guess.
I've already told you mine.
Okay. It has nothing to do with stunt work, okay? It had to do with the absolutely ridiculous entrance of Brie Larson as Tess, you know, or part of the agency, you know. She struts in to
Snoke's throne room.
With these like screens hanging from nothing. They're floating in the air, and they're all telling like this, you know, they've got storytelling. There's like but they're slightly translucent, so you can have cameras behind it. And I'm going, well, they spent $10 billion, you know, doing this, making this lair where apparently they, you know, figure out who's good, who's bad, what needs to be done in the world. Yet they're hiring street racers to solve the world's problems? What?
And they, spoiler, and they hire a leader who has connections to Dante.
Right.
You're saying you didn't figure that out? You didn't figure that out as the agency? But also reminded me of Avengers.
Yeah.
We have those screens and everything.
Yeah.
And it's, you know,
it's
Sam
very
Jackson's
funny.
character and everything. Nick Fury trying to go up against whether they're going to bomb New York City or not, and they have the vote buttons and everything. It's the same kind of deal.
Yeah, right. And Brie Larson, who I'm a big fan of, after the first lines she delivers in this movie, the first lines she delivered were laugh out loud bad. And I
Must have been her first take.
I kind of laughed. I'm like, whoa, please, Brie Larson, don't do this for the whole movie. And then it got a little better, but that was my most unbelievable part of the movie.
It's not known for its writing.
Yeah. Or acting.
Or plot.
The rest of the gang, which is like, I mean, they have their own separate universe. Okay, there's the 50 of them. You know, but you have like, you know, Tyrese Gibson as Roman, you know, like trying to be the leader. And
Luda!
I thought a lot of their scenes together tried too hard to be funny and worked. I mean, and when the biggest laugh of the night in the house is somebody saying the word butthole, you know you're not at a Shakespeare festival.
But okay, hold on. But it's funny because you don't expect that word. That's why it's funny. It's not because it's crude humor or even childish humor. It's because you're not expecting that.
Gover's defending butthole.
I'm defending comedy, actually. So
Really?
Yes, really.
It's Butthole is outside the norm of the Fast movies.
When you have two grown-ass men bantering like brothers or a married couple like Bradford and I do sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
The Bickersons.
And then all of a sudden, they drop Butthole. That's hilarious to me. That's really funny because you're expecting about 10 other things.
Sure.
If you had a suggested, you had
A
to
little more
predict it.
street.
You had to predict it. You'd be like, all right, you got 10 guesses. What am I going to say next? All right, it's going to be this. Butthole's like 37th on the list. You're not expecting it at all. So therefore, it's funny.
I did feel sad for Tyrese as Roman, though.
Why?
Because he got roped into the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
For him to be the leader. I felt sorry for the character
He
because
wanted to be the lead.
he wanted, but he got roped in, and that's what caused the
Right.
whole mess. Like him wanting to be the leader so bad because Jason Momoa was a villain, did so much research. He knew that's how he's going to get them to bite. Was we're going to make
Sending him on a fake
Sending him
mission
on a fake
to
mission.
Rome. Yeah.
So I felt bad for him because he's been through a lot. Roman,
I wouldn't know.
the character of Roman has
Seemed like a
been
good character in
through
the second
through a lot. He's been through a lot. He is typically the butthole of the jokes.
Okay.
He is. Tyrese's character is typically the joke
and
so
he
many
was
times.
quite often in
this
Fast
one.
X.
And he plays that role very, very well. And
He does play that role.
I would, Jim, to go on to your point about so many people in the cast as well, that is an issue as we talk about issues with a movie like this, because Marvel is leading up into something big all the time, and you're having a big get-together, but you're always talking about screen time and so many different plots going in different directions. Same thing's happening with this film, but it's a different type of establishment of what's going on with these characters, because they've had characters that have died and have come back, or characters that maybe they haven't seen in a couple movies, or they've been through the ringer, like Letty, who had amnesia after she died, apparently, and you had to bring her back, all that. So you have all these plot holes through in this, but not just plot holes, but plots that you have to remember about these characters when they come back. And spoiler alert, at the very end, you have a character that's been dead for 3 movies.
And who said they would never do these movies again.
Never do. So Helen Mirren's character, very small, which she typically has the type of thing. Little nobody.
Well, after Shazam
very
2,
small
she's
role.
probably
Yeah.
thrilled to just show up for a day.
Oh God, no kidding.
Right. Please don't make me read a lot of dialogue.
Right.
That's in her contract.
Yes.
And then you still have Cypher out there, Charlize Theron, who is now trying. The enemy, my enemy is my friend. All that kind of stuff. When she was the hyper villain for like 3 movies,
Yeah.
she's been the villain. So, and then you tie in a sister.
Right.
So it is very
real.
difficult for someone like a Gover to jump right in and then have to understand when you don't have any background. That's why I've even said, if you want to not appreciate, but if you want to understand why audiences maybe react certain ways when you're in a theater watching this, you have to watch the other ones. Whereas I think there are even a lot of Marvel films now where, yeah, you might miss some things, but there's a lot that can stand on their own. They can just stand on their own as a superhero movie.
That's the art form that Marvel in particular is perfecting, where they can present a movie,
Yep.
and from front to back, you can get 92% of it. And the 8% that you're not going to understand,
It's okay.
clearly everybody else is getting because they've done the
Right.
homework.
But it's okay.
And it is, right, that's what I'm saying, it's okay.
It's okay to be a tourist in that
Yes.
film.
But in this franchise, it's actually kind of difficult because you're missing a lot of what the plot is when they just spring up a character.
No.
Okay,
No.
if you're wanting to get it.
If I want to get deep into the canon, I was fine not knowing half of.
But you still know enough.
I knew nothing.
I know.
I knew 38 minutes worth
I know.
of this series.
But I'm saying in terms of audience reaction, like, why are they reacting like that?
No, that's true. I'm saying,
So-
so I'll
I'm saying,
I'll
okay.
counter you on your word appreciate, because you said
No.
not appreciate, but if I wanted to appreciate the
Okay.
nuances of the script and the quips and the lines and the cameos, then yes,
Okay, fair.
I would need to see the first 9. But for me to enjoy this movie, I enjoyed it with, again, all of 38 minutes of knowledge.
So let's say compared to like a Marvel one where you're like a 90-something%, this one, there's probably 20% of callbacks in this movie.
Fine, but
There are.
it didn't impact my.
No, and I don't expect it to for people.
I may have enjoyed it more had I known all that.
Right, and I think
but I'm
that's
not
what
required to go back.
That's what I'm leading. I know I don't want to require. That's a lot of movies to just be brain dead about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
it is.
Yes,
but
it is.
that's where it's like they're trying to create something here that's more than what it should be by creating all this canon with it as well, because they're having to create all these callbacks to dead characters, to things that have happened in so many previous movies. It's not like it's just the previous movie. We're talking there's callbacks to Fast 5. That's a long time ago.
Jim, I don't know about you, man, but this makes me just appreciate and yearn for more Knives Out movies. because it's going to be one character that repeats, and you don't have to know crap.
Well, and the
about
writing's
everything
really
else.
clever for Knives Out franchise.
Okay,
Sure.
well,
But
but
this isn't
I'm just
clever.
talking about the whole.
You could you could pick any one of them. If say they did 5 over the next
Yes.
5 years, that you could just jump right in. You don't need to know squat.
You're like, okay, Benoit Blanc is the detective. Got it. Let's go.
I agree.
It's
And,
fantastic.
I have watched enough of Fast and the Furious franchise as much as I wanted to. So it's not like I missed, I never got to that. I've watched what I've wanted to watch, and I was fine. And I also, really had a good time. All right, let's score Fast X with the Untitled Film Project Podcast. Jeremy Gover, the newbie to this universe. What do you
Boy,
think?
have these films improved over 22 years? Holy criminy! And I'm just basing it on the first 2 and then this one. So I'm actually skipping 7, which is pretty crazy. Not the number 7. 7 movies.
You have to clarify
Yeah.
with these.
Oh man.
You know how those movies when you're a teenager and you thought they were like just so great,
Yeah.
and then maybe you're 40, 45, 35, whatever, and you're like, man, I remember that movie being so good, and you go back and watch it, and it's kind of like, meh. Like the nostalgia's there, but it's a movie. You're like, I really like that. Like, that's something you need to. Yeah.
I'm a little embarrassed.
That's what this is. It's a movie that is kind of absent, hollow, if you will, but it's still fun. And that's the definition to me of a summer blockbuster. Summer blockbusters used to be like, it's just a good 2 hours out of the theater.
Yep.
Or 2.5, depending. Now that was 2023. Nothing's under 3 hours anymore.
Right.
So it's just a good time out. But you're not going to like ever put it on your top 50 list, But it's just like, oh yeah, I had a good time. I'll also go see it again. That's what this movie is for me. Jason Momoa stole the show. I get that I'm supposed to suspend belief, but it was too much for me. I could not get over it at times. Having never seen a single Fast movie all the way through, I had fun, like I said, and I'm glad I saw it with a crowd. Had I seen it, again, given my perspective of not having seen any of these movies, 38 minutes of it, if I see it alone at my house, or if I see it in an empty theater where there's like maybe 2 or 3 people scattered around, I don't enjoy it nearly as much.
Totally different energy.
Yeah, the energy, great word, energy. So for me, I'm glad I saw it with a crowd. I'm glad I saw it with a crowd that appreciated it, wanted to be there. Because not only did we see it as critics, but it was also, you could win tickets to go. See, some people had won tickets that they really wanted to go see this movie.
True fans.
Yeah, true fans were in the building as well. So for me, even if I didn't appreciate a joke or a placement or a character cameo or whatever it may be, or even a line that wasn't even that funny, but it was funny to them because they'd seen them all, and it was a callback to 5 or whatever it was, I got to appreciate the film, that aspect of it, through them.
Right.
Even though I didn't get the joke. Anyway, all that being said, 5.5. I enjoyed it enough. It was fun. Clearly not a good film. Like, it's not great filmmaking.
Okay, but
Right.
Oh, yeah, thank you. But I enjoyed it, and I hadn't seen any of the other ones, so I figured that's a triumph. If you're walking in cold to this thing,
And you're watching the 10th movie.
The 10th.
and you still had a good time, you got to get points for that. And again, Jason Momoa was just a stud. 5.5.
Okay. Jim, have seen, several of the Fast movies and went into Fast X knowing what kind of movie I was going to get. I knew they were going to give me something ridiculously over the top, defying the laws of physics, God, that mattress that you're not supposed to tear off the tag.
Oh, yes.
So, just I knew it was going to be silly. So, that didn't really bother me. The amount of characters and the amount of return characters, and then return characters that have flipped sides a couple of times, maybe, I found a little bit, a little head spinning occasionally. It was a little bit too much. I thought the platitudes, Vin Diesel staring into the camera, giving his, whatever, but it's not about Vin. Blah, blah, blah. Those are kind of tired. I'm kind of done.
That's all he does.
I know.
He's a one-dimensional actor.
This is true.
I love you guys.
I mean, he's Groot. So, there
Right.
you go. I really didn't expect great acting, and I didn't get it. But I did have a good time. The stunts were ridiculous. It was an excellent escape from the real world, where the real rules are no fun. Okay? So this is not a great movie. I had a great time, but I'm still going to give it a 4.
Whoa! I thought I'd be the lowest score in this room. Okay.
And Jim wonders why I go, me, I'm Mr. Arthouse.
Well, he just proved that he is Mr. Arthouse.
I know.
You know, I thought since I am Mr. Arthouse that I should wear a bow tie every time I'm, reviewing a movie.
Dude brought props.
Jim, it looks like you're ready for Chippendale's BDSM.
All right, we didn't need to go there at all. And anybody who's watching this is agreeing with me.
Too close to home.
Too close to home.
You clearly struck a nerve when you said that.
What is that thing on the ceiling actually covering, Jim?
Don't look at this room with a black light.
Looks like a Jackson Pollock painting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got it.
Nerd alert.
That was a great Guardians of the Galaxy reference. Justin Bradford, Mr. I Love Everything. What'd you think?
If you think I love everything, please go see my review on Hypnotic. Holy crap.
Or 65.
Or 65. Or plenty of other movies, you Fargan ice holes. That's a reference as well.
That's buttholes to you.
He didn't get it.
Fargan Vestiges? That's also another one.
Yes. All right. I had a lot of fun during this. The expectations for me was I wanted to laugh. I wanted to see how ridiculous they got. I wanted them to lean into things. And they did that for me. The evolution of these films to lean into the jokes that people write about them is what made me like the movie more than I thought I would. Because Jason Momoa, who stole the show in this, is the one that is completely making fun of the family the entire time by calling out all the things that the general audience calls out. Even though they go and pay money to see these movies, they still understand how ridiculously stupid so many things in this film are. But he's the villain calling it out, and that's hyper-awareness to me.
Sure.
And I truly appreciate that from a villain that is the Joker of this series now. He's obviously the best villain of this franchise now, by all means. And it's because he is taking what the movies have given us and shoving it right back at them, whether it's family, the car culture, all these other things, and all the callbacks as well. And taking that and all the characters as well and shoving that back in their faces because he's going after every single person who has ever helped Dom Toretto, meaning it leaves a lot of flexibility to the writers as well for the next two because they could literally bring back anybody or bring back anyone from previous things. So I can like that because from the comic book perspective, there's a lot of fluidity in there that you can just roll with whatever you want to roll with, whoever's available as an actress or an actor. Whatever you want to do, you can do. So major props to them.
You say comic book. I have to, I'm just thinking of my mom who watched her stories where all those rules,
totally.
That's somebody's twin. Oh, it wasn't them.
The reveal of the mask in the hospital, from the cast and everything on their face.
Exactly. I didn't even know they had an evil twin that lived up in the attic. And
that's what comic books are, though, right?
But it's also soap operas.
It is.
Yeah.
But they're all, when you think the same kind of premise, it's just stories meant for a different audience.
Yeah.
That's all these things are. They're all the same. You can bring back people, but they've had you suspend belief enough to where they can explain in some weird ways how someone didn't actually die and it was faked for this because they're working for the agency. They just throw the agency thing out there whenever they want to.
Sure.
So I'm very curious how they're going to explain some of these other bring back from the dead moments. But yes,
I was going to say, I can't wait till they bring back Paul Walker. I don't mean that as a joke.
No, he's alive in the movies.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So
that's
the technology once they get the last one might be good enough to where he does a cameo, walks on.
And that is another curious discussion point we didn't necessarily get to. Is that
we don't have to.
But I do want to throw it out there because I would almost rather them have found a way to let him go, because it is very weird to have his wife, who is Dom's sister, still be in these movies and just say, "Oh yeah, he's off with the kids." So the sister just is still a part of the world.
I hadn't even thought about that. Actually, you're right.
And they reference him.
About that.
They reference him plenty of times, but he's just off. He's like retired. But if it's all hands on deck, you come out of retirement. Hawkeye comes out of retirement.
Yeah.
People come out of retirement.
That's what I'm telling you. It's going to be the 13th movie.
So,
the 13th and final film. He's going to make some sort of appearance
or something. Yeah,
it's CGI, Paul Walker.
Yeah, but it's going to be weird.
Yeah, it is.
But that's where. But the technology may be good enough.
And they gave him a send-off in the movie as well with the song that was a beautiful song, right? Gave him a send-off, the character a send-off, but not Paul Walker. They gave Paul Walker, but not the character, a send-off.
I didn't mean to divert your score.
No. But it is a worthy topic because they're keeping a character alive when the actor isn't by just referencing off screen. But it is so weird right now to not have that character on screen when you keep referencing him, but half of his family is still there and present. It's awkward. And they've dug themselves into this hole that they can't get out of right now. Or else they're going to have to explain it like they kind of had to in Wakanda Forever, but a very different way how they explained it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I had fun with this movie. I'm 100% going to go see the next two and probably rewatch the other ones sometimes because they're just movies I can turn on and do something else. They're that kind of movie a lot of times. You're going to watch for the action scenes and not the dialogue because, dear God, you don't watch for the dialogue. But I do like the ridiculousness. I like the style of action movie where it is a brain dead type of movie where you really can turn it off and you're going to pick up references because they shove it in your face so hard if you watch the other ones that you don't have to like think too hard about it. And I'm okay with that because family. But that being said, I give it a 6.5.
Okay.
All right. So
again, it's higher from Jim. I expected higher from Bradford.
Again, it's not beautiful cinema, but it's still a lot of fun, and it's worthy of going to see if you like these types of movies, if you like action movies.
We all agreed. We were thoroughly entertained.
For sure.
We had a really good time getting out of the house, going somewhere, and somebody making us laugh, smile, groan at the butthole joke, and And
it doesn't have to be beautiful cinema. It just has to be entertaining.
No, but I would counter by saying, again, if I go with an empty theater, I don't get much out of it.
It changes everything.
It does.
There's
change
some heavy laughs.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're basically saying is go early.
Yeah.
Like this movie is out this weekend.
Don't see it 10 weeks in.
You're right. Don't wait till it comes out on digital or Blu-ray. Don't wait.
It's a theater experience movie.
Till the summer when the kids are out of school. If you're in California, in the middle of June, don't wait.
Or the North.
Yep. Oh yeah. Thank you. This is you got to go early because the crowd around you will make it better.
Especially while it's in IMAX and Dolby. This is one that you'd have fun seeing on the big screen experience.
Yeah.
Just because it's an action movie and it's going to rumble your butthole with the bass. And
here we go.
And
with the racing and everything
of
too.
A great projection. I mean, it's a beautiful looking movie. It's gorgeous.
And Justin Lin's a part of it. He's been part of the Fast franchise for a while too. Those types of ridiculous action movies. That's what he does.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right.
Untitled Film Project Podcast. Next up, the mysterious big question.
Every episode on the Untitled Film Project Podcast, we love to do a big question. Basically, it involves you, the listener, to be able to talk about the things you talk about with your friends, right? We are your friends. We are here for you every single week that we can be on the Untitled Film Project Podcast. That's why you subscribe. That's why you like our stuff. That's why you comment, all that stuff, so you can stay in our ecosystem. And even if you haven't seen the movie that we're talking about, you can always still download or listen to this episode and fast forward to the big question because that is more benign and it's more for everybody. So with that being said, this big question, because Fast X is in theaters and we just got done watching it and talking about it, whether you've seen it or not, you can now listen to this spoiler free. Who is the best villain you have seen in the theaters this calendar year? So 2023, who is the best villain you've seen?
January through May.
Correct. Bradford, you want to start first? You want me to go ahead and...
I think you should start.
Okay, I'll buy some time.
You'll trigger us in.
Yeah, because I'll buy some time because I've got a top 5 for you.
Oh,
wow.
The original question for you guys was going to be rank your top 5, but then Bradford's over here off camera be like, I don't like to be, I can't rank anything off the top of my head. So I
only use tears.
So I will give you my top 5, and then and hopefully that'll spur some.
I'll give you my top 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers.
I thought it was going to be 1. I thought it was going to be 1, 2. Hey, we're not videoing this. Okay. So number 1 for me is Kang. Jonathan Majors as Kang.
From Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Number 2 is Dante from Fast X. I thought he was just tremendous. Jason Momoa crushed it, killed it, and he was, I mean, literally, I guess. And when he was on screen, he stole the show. Number 3 is Megan. I thought Megan was great. The question, by the way, was almost what human. Then I said, no, I really want to include Megan, so we'll
leave it open.
Take that off. Damien, another Jonathan Majors hit. Damien from Creed 3. And then Dracula from Renfield. Those are my top 5 villains of 2023. You guys don't have to give your top 5 or rank them or anything like that, but just who is your favorite villain that you've seen on screen this year?
You know, I'm gonna give you 3. I'm gonna give you in 3 different categories. Okay. As far as acting, performance, and written, and everything. You know, like
I like this.
Really, you know, gave it everything. I am also gonna go with Kang from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with Jonathan Majors. He's just very, very good. Then there's the funny one. And while Cocaine Bear was a funny villain, Megan is definitely.
I thought you were going to actually say Cocaine Bear. I was getting really worried.
I really enjoyed Megan, and I'm going to put her right there with the fun villain too, which has got to be Dante from Fast X, Jason Momoa. So much fun.
Bradford.
All right, for me, going to start with that one T-Rex in 65.
The one behind the waterfall?
Yes, yeah.
They gave away that it was on Earth 65 million years ago in the trailer.
Oh, that's what this movie's about.
Spoiler alert.
T-Rex number 4, if you're looking through the end credits.
Hey, Mom, it's me. No, I really did enjoy, obviously, Megan being a great villain, Dracula and Renfield, Kang as well, and then even throughout the High Evolutionary and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I thought fantastic villain just in terms of the acting from Chukwudi Iwuji was incredible, I think, for that, in terms of a villain role.
Yeah.
Another one I'll throw out just to be a little bit different is I've seen Blackberry, and Glenn Howerton's portrayal of Jim Ballsack Basili.
The owner of BlackBerry, the phone.
The owner who thrust himself into being the co-CEO of BlackBerry Research in Motion. He does an incredible job completely being and bleep me if you need to, an asshole to everyone around him. And while this isn't an action movie or a drama or anything like that, where you typically have a villain, he is the villain to his own company in his ego and how his rise leads to his fall in everything that he does. And I think Glenn Howerton did an incredible job playing him because you're not used to seeing Glenn Howerton in that type of role either. So for him to play a balding businessman who gets fired from his job and all of a sudden forces his way into being the CEO of a company, it was really fun to watch on screen. And also as someone in Nashville who, if you know any sports background at all, who he tried to buy the Predators and make them leave Nashville for Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, it was really cool to see the portrayal of him falling on his face. Yeah. I really like that villain arc of seeing him fail and being told to F off.
Sure.
I really like that. So just to be a little different, I'll take Glenn Howerton's Jim Basili as my favorite villain. You can find us at Untitled Film Project Podcast on social media. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's Instagram. I mean, you can find it anywhere. And then we all 3 put our own content out there as well, too. Gover writes some really great articles. And then Jim puts out great videos as well on TikTok and Instagram. I put out videos as well, too. So follow all of us on there. That's where you can find us as Untitled Film Project Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Untitled Film Project Podcast. To support the show, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Original music by Jeremy Schwartz. Special thanks to the Music City Film Critics Association. Editing and post-production by Jeremy K. Gover. Voiceover by Chad Bennett. The Untitled Film Project Podcast is presented in cooperation with iHeartRadio.